Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Sleepy Scandals. Today we'll be falling asleep to wild relationship stories. My best friend stole my girlfriend. So I had this best friend, Dylan. We'd known each other since middle school, played Minecraft together, failed the math together, survived puberty together. you know, real bonding. Enter Marissa at the time, my girlfriend. Smart, funny, extremely good at making me think everything was okay, even when it was, even though it wasn't. A true talent. I introduced her to Dylan because, I trusted him. Mistake number one. Right away, I start noticing weird vibes, like whenever we are all hanging out. Dylan laughs a little too hard at her jokes. He's bending forward, holding his chest, doing performance level comedy appreciation. I'm like, relax, man. This joke was a 6 out of 10 at base. Then Marissa starts saying things like, Dylan really listens, He's so emotionally mature. He understands me. And I'm standing there like, yeah, he should. He's my friend. He came with my starter pack. Anyway, one day, Dylan asks if we can talk privately. He sits me down, looks serious, and says, I think Marissa might be better off with someone who understands her. Brother, you are describing yourself. I'm confused, upset, and a little bit impressed at the audacity. The next day, Marissa shows up and tells me, I feel like we've grown apart. Hmm, interesting timing. 3 days later, they post a picture together. Caption, sometimes the right person was there all along. I'm sorry, what? You mean my living room where you met her, Dylan? Here's the funny part though. They dated for like 2 weeks. Turns out, once the thrill of betrayal evaporated, they realized they actually had nothing in common besides hurting my feelings. So yeah, I lost them both. But honestly, I leveled up. New friends, new relationship, new peace. Sometimes life takes out the trash out for you. So our commentary is that if someone can steal your partner, they weren't your partner. And if someone will betray you that fast, they weren't your friend. Alright, next story in a chaotic, completely different way. Our second story is titled My Date Pretended to Hate Chocolate Bars Because I Liked It. This one is beautifully stupid. So check this out. I'm on a date with a girl named Amber. Very charismatic, very confident, very much a person who has never once said the phrase, yeah, my bad. We are at a cafe and I ordered a hot chocolate. She looks horrified, like I just ordered a cup of lava. She goes, you like chocolate? Yes, like a normal human. And she says, that's so funny because I hate chocolate. Except earlier when we were waiting, she was literally talking about how much she loves brownies. So I asked gently, didn't you say brownies were your favorite desserts? And she freezes like an NPC caught in a lie. Then she says, oh, I only like brownies when the chocolate is really faint. Girl, brownies are chocolate. That's the whole point. I later learned she was pretending to hate chocolate because she thought having opposite tastes would create some sort of tension and chemistry. Ma'am, this is not a Netflix rom-com. This is a cafe. The relationship didn't last long. Not because of the chocolate thing, but because she also pretended to hate dogs for the exact same reason. She met my dog, immediately loved him, and then whispered, Don't tell anyone. I'm not protecting your fake personality, ma'am. So here's a tip. You don't need to create drama to make romance interesting. Real chemistry doesn't require performance. Alright, next story is the kind that makes you sigh deeply. This third story is my ex thought texting back fast was suspicious. So I used to date someone named Jordan, and Jordan believed one thing very strongly. Fast replies equals guilt. If I responded in under a minute, Jordan would go, "Oh wow, that was quick. Why are you on your phone? Who else are you talking to?" I'm like, literally no one. I'm just chronically online. But if I didn't respond quickly, Jordan would also get suspicious. "Oh, so now you ignoring me? What's taking so long? Are you hiding something?" There was no winning. The final straw was when I texted, "Hey, I'm just warming up leftovers. BRB. Be right back." And Jordan replies, "Why are you making excuses? I am literally heating food. Am I supposed to mail you proof?" Relationships should not require timestamps, documentation, and alibis. I left that relationship with one lesson. If someone thinks you are guilty, no matter what you do, they're fighting the imagination, not you. A side commentary. Sometimes it's not that you are untrustworthy, it's that the other person doesn't trust anyone. Alright, let's move on to story 4. My partner tried to fix my personality. So I dated someone named Liam who decided very early into their relationship that my personality was a work in progress. Not in a cute way, in a project manager evaluating an employee way. Example, one day he says, if you smiled less, people might take you more seriously. "Sir, I am not applying for a role as a medieval villain." Then he tells me, "Maybe don't talk so much around my friends. You can be a lot." "Oh, okay, I'll just pretend to be a houseplant." Got it. Then the kicker. "I feel like you'd be happier if you're more like me." That sentence is a red flag wearing heels. Eventually, I said, "I'm not becoming a new version of me just to fit your taste." He didn't like that, so he dumped me, then tried to get back together a month later because he missed my energy. You miss the same energy you tried to turn off? That's hilarious. A side commentary, you're not meant to be edited, rearranged, or designed. Love fits the person, not the other way around. Alright, so where were we? Ah, yes, the part where our boy Ethan was pretending he totally heard everything under control while his girlfriend Clara was, let's say, operating under her own definition of loyalty, suspicious texts, weird late night study sessions, the usual pre-chat speedrun. Anyway, Ethan decided he needed clarity. So what does he do? Does he calmly communicate? Does he go to therapy? Does he journal his thoughts? Does he journal his concerns like a well-adjusted adult? No, of course not. This is Reddit land. He does what every rational, mildly panicking 22-year-old does. He investigates. So Ethan waits until Clara hops into the shower, because that's the sacred window of opportunity in every suspicious relationship. And he checks her iPad. Now look, before anyone judges him, remember, curiosity is basically instinct, like dogs knowing how to swim, or exes knowing what exactly when to text you again after you finally healed. Anyway, the iPad opens without a password. Red flag or green flag? Not sure, but what was a red flag was the flood of messages from someone labeled Twitter Dan. First of all, any man who puts an emoji sparkle next to his own name is already a threat. Let's just be honest. Ethan scrolls and keeps scrolling and keeps scrolling. These two have been messaging like teenagers with unlimited data. And then he finds it, the message that makes his entire stomach drop through the floor. Last night was amazing. Same time after class? Yep, there it is. The sentence that ages you 5 years instantly. He sits there, staring at the screen, feeling that numb buzzing sensation behind his ears. The kind you get right before your soul logs out of your body and says, handle this yourself. I am done. Now. Now Ethan, bless him. He doesn't explode. He doesn't yell. He doesn't storm into the bathroom and dramatically flying the shower curtain open like a telenovela villain. He does something worse. He waits. He waits until she comes out wrapped in a towel, humming like somebody who definitely didn't just emotionally ruin another person's life. And when she walks out, she freezes because Ethan's sitting on the edge of the bed, holding her iPad like it's Exhibit A. In a trial she is absolutely losing. We need to talk, he says. Classic, never a good sign. 99% of the time when someone says, we need to talk, what they actually mean is, your life is about to get significantly worse for the next 20 minutes. Clara tries to play dumb. She tries to spin it. She tries to say, it wasn't what it looks like, which, by the way, is the unofficial national anthem of cheaters worldwide. But Ethan shows her the messages, all of them, and suddenly Clara's story changes from I didn't do anything wrong to okay, but it didn't mean anything, which is honestly the worst defense possible. Oh yes, totally. Nothing says meaningless like last night was amazing. Just a little casual academic bonding, right? Anyway, the fest lasts an hour. Tears, excuses, blame shifting, the whole starter pack. But Ethan doesn't yell, doesn't scream. He just says, I need space. And he walks out. He goes to crash at his friend Mason's place, who, by the way, is the kind of friend who always has leftover pizza, never asks questions, and somehow owns exactly one pillow but 6 gaming chairs. Mason hands Ethan a blanket and says, dude, whatever happened, I'm on your team, but please don't cry on the controller. It's new. Real friendship right there. Now Ethan spends the next few days thinking about everything. The relationship, the betrayal, all the little moments he overlooked. And every night he scrolls through messages again just to remind himself he's not imagining it. And then, just when he's starting to settle into heartbreak mode, he gets another message from Tutor Dan, except this time it's not Clara, it's to him. The message says, hey, we need to talk. And this is where things start getting weird. Like weirder than the creeper that somehow sneaks up on you in broad daylight. But we're gonna ease into that. Slowly, calmly, sleep friendly, and with only a light sprinkle of what the actual heck. Alright, let's move into the next story beat. Still relaxing, still paced for winding down, but with just enough drama to keep your brain awake in the fun way, not the anxiety. Alright, let's move into the next story beat. Still relaxing, still paced for winding down, but with just enough drama to keep your brain awake in the fun way, not the anxiety way. So Dan, the sparkle emoji tutor himself, messages Ethan out of nowhere. And Ethan just stares at his phone because really, what are you supposed to do when the guy your girlfriend cheated with suddenly wants a heart to heart. Send the thumbs up emoji, challenges him to a duel, block him and go eat cereal. He hesitates, but eventually he types back, "What do you want?" Short, calm, measured. The type of text you send when your entire life is on fire, but you're pretending the flames are decorative. Dan replies almost immediately, "Can we meet? There's something you should know." Great, because nothing says peace of mind like the side dude requesting an in person meeting. This is how true crime podcasts start. But Ethan agrees, because at this point, his curiosity has evolved into something stronger than fear. Something like, if my life is already ruined, I might as well collect all the DLC content. They decide to meet at a small cafe across the famous campus, the kind that sells $7 muffin and plays music that sounds like an ukulele having an existential crisis. Ethan gets there first. He orders tea because coffee would make his hand shake and he doesn't want to look like he's falling apart, even though he absolutely is. Then Dan walks in, and here's the shocker. He doesn't look like the villain Ethan imagined. No dramatic leather jacket, no evil smirk, just a regular dude, anxious, awkward, and very much not sparkling in real life. Dan sits down and says, "I didn't know she had a boyfriend." Ethan stares, blank, processing. Dan swears up and down he had no idea. He explains Clara told him she was single, focusing on school, not ready to date. Classic. Ethan doesn't buy it at first, because cheaters always try to protect themselves by making the other person look clueless. But then Dan shows him the messages, actual proof. "I didn't know she had a boyfriend." Ethan stares, blank, processing. Dan swears up and down she had no idea. He explains Clara told him he was single, focusing on school, not ready to date. Classic. Ethan doesn't buy it at first, because cheaters always try to protect themselves by making the other person look clueless. But then Dan shows him the messages, actual proof. Clara was the one flirting first. Clara was the one pushing for extra study sessions. Clara was the one initiating all the late night conversations. And the worst part, she was telling Dan about Ethan, but calling him her clingy ex who won't let go. Woof! Right in the soul. Critical hit. Ethan takes a long breath. The kind you take to keep tears from escaping. And Dan looks genuinely guilty, like the man is one apology away from offering to mow Ethan's lawn for the rest of his life. Then Dan drops the final bomb. "She told me she was still meeting you because you were emotionally unstable and she felt bad." Yep, there it is. The manipulation, the flipping of narratives, the classic cheater strategy. Breaking someone's heart, then act like they're the problem. Ethan sits there, letting the truth sit like dust in the air. For the first time since everything happened, he doesn't feel confused or conflicted, just done. He thanks Dan, which surprises the guy, and leaves the cafe feeling lighter. Not because the situation is good, but because clarity is weirdly calming. When you finally understand what happened, even if it hurts, at least the fog isn't choking you anymore. On his way back to Mason's apartment, Ethan realizes something. He didn't lose Clara. He lost the version of her he thought existed. And honestly, that version never existed in the first place. He steps inside the apartment and Mason, wearing the same hoodie for the third day in a row, pauses his game and says, "You good, dude?" And for the first time, Ethan says, "Yeah, I think I will be." But of course, that's just the emotional halfway point of the story, because the universe wasn't done with him yet. Not even close. Alright, so Ethan's feeling a bit little tiny, wincy better. Still heartbroken, still trying not to cry onto Mason's suspiciously crunchy couch blanket, but he's stable. Stable-ish. But remember how I said the universe wasn't finished with him yet? Yeah, cue the next plot twist. It all starts when Clara suddenly texts him, "Can we talk?" Ah, yes, the classic cheetah respawn. Right on schedule. Ethan stares at the message. He debates, ignoring it, blocking it, throwing his phone into a ravine, metaphorically and literally. Since Mason's building ravine in Minecraft right now. But Ethan decides, fine, one conversation, closure, or at least attempted closure. They agree to meet at the park near their old dorm. You know, the one with the geese that act like their parent. Clara shows up late, of course, fashionably late, apology late, guilty late. She walks up slowly, biting her lip like she's rehearsing the Oscar qualifying speech she's about to deliver. Ethan stays quiet, calm, collected, almost too calm. Clara sits beside him and sighs the way people do when they want to look emotionally deep. Then she starts, "Ethan, I know I messed up, but you have to understand." He cuts her off. Not rudely, just firmly. "Why did you lie to him? About me?" Clara freezes. She wasn't expecting that. She was expecting crying, anger, not clarity. She stumbles through excuses. First, she blames stress, then school, then her childhood, then complicated emotions, then the alignment of the planets, probably. Ethan listens, patient, quiet, letting her talk herself in circles. Finally, he asks, "Did you cheat because you were unhappy or because you wanted attention?" Her eyes widened because that's the question she didn't want to face. She whispers, "I don't know." And that's the moment Ethan realizes the truth. She wasn't confused, she wasn't lost, she wasn't emotionally overwhelmed. She was selfish. Not evil, not malicious, just selfish. And that's almost worse. He stands up slowly and says, "I hope you figure out yourself, but I can't be the person who gets hurt while you're doing it." Clara reaches out, grabs his wrist lightly and whispers, "I still love you." But Ethan, for the first time, doesn't feel anything. No spark, no ache, just closure. He gently pulls his hand away, nods once and walks off. No dramatic exit, no tears, just peace. On his walk home, he suddenly gets a text from Dad. "Everything okay?" Ethan laughs a little, not because it's funny, but because it's surreal. He replies, "Yeah, I think I'm finally done." Dan sends back a thumbs up emoji. No sparkles this time, thankfully. When Ethan returns to Mason's apartment, Mason's sitting on the floor eating cereal with a tablespoon because all the actual spoons are dirty. He looks up and goes, "So, you gonna become a monk or something?" Ethan chuckles and says, "Nah, just moving on." And Mason, in the most supportive way possible, nods and says, "Cool, want to help me build a giant potato statue?" True friendship. But the story's not finished because healing isn't a straight line. It's an annoying zigzag roller coaster that nobody asks for, and Ethan's about to hit the next loop. So, welcome to part 4. So, Ethan thinks he's good. He's processed the heartbreak, confronted the cheater, gained the clarity, got the closure, basically completed the emotional side quest chain. But if Reddit has taught us anything, it's that the story doesn't end when you think it should. No, that would be too easy. Because just when Ethan's settling back into somewhat a normal routine, eating real meals again, sleeping slightly better, not checking his phone like it's a bomb, something unexpected happens. He gets an email from Clara's mom. Yeah, let that sink in. The subject line reads, "I'm sorry." Ethan opens it, heart pounding a little, because what parent reaches out after a breakup unless something weird is going on? The email is long, like scrolling for days long, and in it, Clara's mom apologizes on her daughter's behalf. She talks about patterns, mistakes Clara's made before, how she pushes away people who care about her, how she self-sabotages. Ethan reads the whole thing, not because he wants Clara back. He really doesn't, but because he's trying to understand the mess he was dragged into. And at the end, Clara's mom writes, "You deserve better. You deserve better. I hope you don't let this change the way you love in the future." And Ethan just sits there, quiet, thinking. Because here's the thing, when you've been hurt like that, it's so easy to close yourself off, to turn cynical, to assume every future relationship will end the same way. But this email weirdly helps, not because it excuses anything, but because it reminds him the world isn't full of Claras. They are actually people who care, people who treat love like something precious instead of something casual. At dinner, Ethan tells Mason about the email. Mason listens while eating spaghetti straight from the pot like a feral raccoon. He swallows, barely, and says, "Dude, you know what this means. You are officially in the post-breakup glow-up arc." Ethan rolls his eyes, but deep down, he kinda hope it's true. Because healing isn't like flipping a switch. It's slow, uneven. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel hollow. And Ethan has both kinds of days. A couple weeks pass, spring semester kicks off, people are buzzing around campus with iced coffees and unmet academic expectations. Ethan goes to class, keeps his head down, sits next to new people. He's quieter now, not cold, just more aware, careful. One day after class, someone taps his shoulder. He turns and sees a girl he vaguely recognizes. Her name is Lena. She's in the same philosophy course. Always sits in the second row. Looks like she reads books with long titles and actually understands them. She smiles softly and says, "Hey, you dropped this earlier." It's his pen, the cheap one that leaks sometimes, but she holds it like it's important. Ethan thanks her. She nods, starts to walk away, then hesitates. Turn back. By the way, you made a really good point in the class today. Ethan blinks, confused. What's the point? He asks. She shrugs with a little smile. About how sometimes people mistake attachment for love. Oh, that point. That one he definitely didn't mean to say out loud, but accidentally did because the professor asked a question while he was on 2 hours of sleep and emotional autopilot. Lena gives him his thoughtful look, the kind that feels like she actually sees him, and then she heads off. Nothing romantic, nothing dramatic. Just a moment, a simple human moment, and it stays in his mind longer than he expects. Later that night, Ethan sits in Mason's living room. Later that night, Ethan sits in Mason's living room while Mason rants about how the university cafeteria changed the fried recipe as an act of personal cruelty. Ethan zones out a little, thinking about that moment with Lena, about the way she paused before leaving, about how comfortable it felt. And that's when it hit him. He's healing. Not because he's found someone new, that's not the point, but because he's finally learning to feel normal again, open again, human again. And honestly, that's enough. But that story's not quite done yet, because every healing arc has one final test, and Ethan is about to show up in the most predictable way possible. Clara reaches out again. When you're ready, just say. Alright, so Ethan is doing okay. Not perfect, just okay. And honestly, that's the most underrated feeling in the world. Not broken, not ecstatic, just living. But as promised, here comes the universe with one final emotional exam. Because late one evening, while Ethan is lying on Mason's couch, contemplating whether he should start going to the gym or just accept his soft but emotional, intelligent body type, his phone buzzes. It's Clara again, but this time, this message is different. It says, I miss you. And Ethan just exhales that long, exhausted kind of breath when your brain says, not this level again. He doesn't respond, not right away. He puts the phone face down, it stares at the ceiling like it's personally wronged him. The Mason walks by holding a plate of pizza rolls and goes, ah yes, the ghost of relationships has passed. Then he hands Ethan a pizza roll like it's a holy communion. For 2 days, Ethan ignores the message, not out of spite, but because responding feels like reopening a wound that finally scabbed over without infection. But on the third day, Clara sends another message, this time, can we talk? It's important. Important? Oh, Reddit users know that's never good. When someone says, can we talk, it's important. So Ethan agrees not to fix anything, but to finally end the cycle. They meet at the same park again, on a bench this time, under a tree that drops leaves like it's being paid hourly. Clara shows up looking tired, not makeup tired, emotionally tired. She sits down and says, I made a mistake. Ethan nods once, calm. No shock, no anger, just acknowledgement. She continues, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realize I hurt you, and I regret it, and I regret All of it. Her voice cracks a little, but Ethan doesn't flinch. He just listens. The same way you listen to someone confess something you already knew. Then she says the line Reddit knows all too well. I want to try again. There it is, the final boss dialogue option. Ethan sits quietly not because he's tempted, but because he's choosing his words carefully. He finally says, Clara, I cared about you a lot, but you didn't love me the way I needed, and you didn't respect me the way I deserved. She looks down, swallowing hard. He continues, I can forgive you. I really can, but I can't go back to being someone you didn't value. Clara starts crying, softly, quietly. The kind of crying that comes from regret rather than heartbreak. She whispers, I thought you'd still be here. And Ethan says the line that marks his emotional graduation. That was the old me. Not cruel, not bitter, just honest. They talk a bit more, not about getting back together, but about closure, mistakes, lessons, and growth. By the end of it, Clara wipes her eyes and says, I hope you find someone who treats you right. And for the first time, she means it. Ethan stands up, gives a small nod, and walks away. No dramatic music, no slow motion montage, just a quiet ending to a loud chapter. And he's walking back. He texts Dan. Yes, sparkle emoji Dan. A short message. We are done. For good. Thanks for being honest. And Dan replies, Good. You deserve someone who chooses you first. Ethan smiles, just a little, but it's the kind of smile that shows up only when you finally healed. Later that night, he sits on the balcony outside Mason's apartment, watching the campus lights glow like fireflies. And for the first time ever since everything happened, he feels something he hasn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not because he's met someone new, not because everything is suddenly perfect, but because he finally knows himself and he's proud. So, part 6. So, this is where things settle. Not with a dramatic twist, not with a heartbreak 2.0, not with someone running into the rain screaming someone else's name. Just life, moving forward, quietly, softly, the way real healing usually happens. After the last conversation with Clara, Ethan feels lighter. There's no anger left, no bitterness, no what if, no imaginary scenarios playing in hopes, in loops at 2 a.m. Just acceptance. And honestly, that's the most peaceful emotion in the world. And a few days later, he's walking across campus. A few days later, he's walking across campus. It's the early morning, golden sunlight stretching across the lawn, birds chirping like overachievers. Ethan, Ethan grabs his usual tea from the campus cafe, nods at the barista who always spells his name wrong, and heads towards his first class. And then he sees her, Lena, the philosophy girl with the soft smile and the quiet voice and the ability to say one sentence that haunts him for 3 days in a good way. She's standing outside the lecture hall, holding a notebook to her chest, squinting at the morning sun like a confused woodland creature. When she notices him, her face brightens a little. Hey, simple, genuine. Ethan smiles back, not forced, not nervous, just natural. Hey, that's a comfortable silence. Then she steps a little closer and says, You know, your comment in class the other day got me thinking. Ethan raises an eyebrow. Oh, which one? She smirks softly. The one about how people confuse being needed with being loved? And there it is again. The moment where she sees through him without pride. Not in a soul exposing way, just in a I understand people kind of way. They talk for a bit, nothing deep at first, just classes, professors, the weather, why the cafeteria still hasn't fixed their tragic soup recipe. But then the conversation shifts naturally, slowly, into something more personal. Lima says, I've been through something similar a while ago. Not the same, but enough to know how heavy it feels. Ethan nods. It's not trauma bonding, it's just understanding. She pauses, kicks a pebble lightly, then says, If you ever want to grab a coffee sometime, I'd like that. Ethan looks at her, really looks, and for the first time since everything happened, he doesn't feel fear or caution or the urge to doubt. He feels ready, not for a relationship, not for anything serious, just ready to let the world open up again. He smiles. Yeah, I'd like that too. Nothing dramatic, nothing rushed. Just two people being human around each other. And here's the thing, this isn't a love story. Not yet, maybe not ever. It's a healing story about a guy who got hurt, who learned the truth, who walked away, and who finally began to see himself again. Ethan doesn't need Clara anymore. He doesn't need validation, closure, or the version of love he used to cling to. He has himself, his growth, his newfound peace. And whatever comes next, friendships, awkward coffee dates, potato statues with Mason, he's ready. Because healing isn't about returning to who you were. It's about becoming someone better. And Ethan, he's on his way. Alright, let's start another story with our sleepy scandals. That is both shocking, strangely quiet in its delivery. Imagine a peaceful evening. You're building a cozy cabin by a Minecraft lake, torches flickering on the walls, a gentle breeze, rustling, pixelated leaves. Your heart is heavy from a troubling Reddit post you'll soon hear. In this first story, our narrator discovers a betrayal so personal it could happen in anyone's family. Just reading it might make you grit your teeth, but we'll keep it calm and focus on the emotion. The story goes like this. A young man who's 23 years old was in a serious relationship. He noticed his girlfriend was becoming unusually controlling, asking for schedules, private messages, constant check-ins. He had done nothing wrong, yet she worried obsessively about infidelity. He chalked it up to insecurity and paranoia. Meanwhile, he decided to do something kind. He wanted to surprise her with a special date at work. She had a demanding job. As an early anniversary gift, They both worked at the same fabrication facility, so he had a friend on the inside who let him know her schedule. Now, this is where it gets ironic. In preparation, he secretly checked her work schedule. He discovered she always had Wednesdays off and was skipping mandatory overnight time shifts. He thought it was odd, but didn't say anything. On the next Wednesday, he put on his work gear and instead of heading to the job site, he parked his car across the street near an apartment complex. Entrance. He had learned the complex had two exits on the same road, so he could easily see whoever came out. After an hour of waiting, a red sports car with a unique decal appeared. It belonged to her cousin by marriage. Curiosity piqued. He quietly walked back inside without knowing, carefully not to disturb anything. He had smartly set up his old laptop as a hidden webcam in his living room beforehand. When he logged in and saw movement on the screen, his heart sank. There was his girlfriend opening the door for her cousin. They greeted each other normally, chatting for a moment, then without a second thought, she unbuttoned his shirt and started kissing him passionately, right there in front of the camera. To his horror, they didn't even try to hide it. They just decided to get intimate on the couch, completely oblivious to the world. Almost immediately, our narrator knew what to do. He quietly copied the camera link and hit share in a family and friend group chat and included everyone involved. Oh my. Then calmly, he leaned back and waited. Sure enough, within seconds, he started seeing phone calls and messages flooding those chats. People were frantic. What were those two doing on the couch? It was too late to lie. He didn't need to come out of hiding. The only call he answered was from her mother, and he put it on speaker. Her voice was filled with panic. What is going on? On the stream. The girlfriend tried to cover herself with pillows while her cousin scrambled to fix his clothes. It was chaos. By the time a guy walked out to meet them at the door, both cheaters were trembling and apologized over and over. But it was over. Reality hit hard. In the calm aftermath, picture a gentle piano chord here. Our narrator reflects that he learned the hard way some people can only keep secrets until you tell everyone at the once. He ended that relationship immediately. Now, years later, he's happily married with kids, and he looks back and says he regrets absolutely nothing. The cousin eventually moved away, and the family drama cooled off. So, a side commentary. I know, that story was wild, but we got through it calmly, right? In story form, at least. It's odd. Something that terrible happened, yet talking about it isn't sending our hearts racing anymore. I guess that's the power of perspective. And on the upside, we saved ourselves the headache of building a tense family gathering in Minecraft later. Although, can you imagine? Hey, I found out your daughter was misbehaving. Let's all sit down for some cake. Yikes. Now let's get our mind back on the game for a moment. The night is still young in our Minecraft world. I'm carefully placing a wooden plank next to the lake to build a bench. Maybe a villager will sit and tell me their peaceful life story next. Hey, villagers can cheat on each other, so that's something. Our second story is heartbreak and growth. For our second story, we have more heart tugging, but ultimately uplifting tale. Picture yourself now exploring a serene Minecraft forest at dusk. The sun is setting in game, bats begin to flutter by, and you gather wood for a campfire. The crackle of fire and the chirping of creates night creatures set a cozy mood. Meanwhile, our narrators are about to share how someone dealt with a deep heartbreak and found a way to grow from it. This one comes from a Reddit user who had been dating her partner for 7 years. She loved him deeply and expected them to build a future together, maybe even marriage or kids. Then one day, everything changed. After all that time, her boyfriend, feeling overwhelmed, suddenly confessed he wasn't sure he was the right person for her. He had taken a part time job out of town, became distant, and eventually admitted he had cheated on her with someone he met at work. It was a cold, simple message that felt like a slap in the face after so much time together. She describes feeling numb at first. In Minecraft Rain, she spent an evening just sitting under a makeshift roof of oak leaves, contemplating the betrayal. Instead of shutting down completely, she decided to reclaim control, both in the game and in life. Night after night, she quietly built something positive in a Minecraft wall, a small garden of flowers, symbolizing new growth. Each block she laid was a step toward rebuilding herself. Around her virtual campfire, she read comforting messages from friends reminding her of her worth, like fuel that kept the fire burning. And find it, she said. She did. Over the next few months, she immersed herself in a routine of small joys, crafting bread and watching turtles lay eggs on the beach. Yes, turtles can be oddly soothing, going on gentle exploration quests to find hidden treasure, even when doodling her feelings in a digital journal. In time, she felt her confidence returning. She posted one day a screenshot of a Minecraft sheep wearing a flower crown she made. It was captioned, "Blooming where I'm planted." That simple act of creating something beautiful sparked dozens of encouraging comments. People in the comment section shared how they built entire forests after a breakup. She realized she wasn't alone. Eventually, she began dating again, slowly. It turned out a friend of hers also played Minecraft and had been quietly rooting for her healing journey. They reconnected over creating a shared survival base in a new server. Now, a year later, she's with someone kind and supportive. She even mentions that he helps build their brick house in Minecraft, joking, "He knows I need to feel protected." She thanks the game and the community for helping her see that her story wasn't over. It was just being written differently than she expected. Ah, young love and heartbreak. Kind of poetic, isn't it? But hey, at least when Minecraft villagers turn their backs on you, you can build another village. The real world is messier, but she handled it block by block. Remember, sometimes the best therapy is a new build in a sandbox game and a good night's sleep. Feel free to join her next to the campfire. The bread's fresh and sheep seem remarkably understanding. Also, by now you might notice I quietly turned the rain off. Everything is peaceful, just the sound of soft wind now. You don't need extra glue. That story had some sadness, but it also had hope and personal growth onto something uplifting. Story 3: A New Dawn in an Old City. Our final story is about finding unexpected love and new beginnings. It comes from a Reddit user who had given up on romance after a painful divorce, only to find love again in the most ordinary way. For this one, picture walking through a bustling Minecraft village at night. Villagers are trading, chickens cluck by wooden fences, and a gentle rain taps on rooftops. It's a quite reflective scene. This narrator was a 30-year-old who thought his chance at love was gone. One evening, on a nostalgic trip back to a city where he once lived, he found himself sitting at a small Minecraft themed coffee shop. Imagine a brewing stand on the counter. By coincidence, so did someone else who had been through a similar divorce. They struck up a conversation about life, loss, and those silly villagers who sometimes steal your livestock. To his surprise, he felt understood. They met again and again, each time talking about more dreams than grief. Each conversation was as comforting as a warm furnace in a cold cave. They started decorating the coffee shop with bookshelves and paintings together, turning it into a cozy reading nook. Over time, they realized this new partnership felt right. He posted a Reddit later, not an end, but the beginning of his story. I thought I had lost everything, but then I built a new life alongside someone I never expected. Aw, isn't that sweet? Sometimes life throws you a surprise cake on your birthday when you least expect it, and sometimes it throws a second chance at love. If the story taught us anything, is that even after dark times, the sun or moon rises again. Hear that? It's just a gentle silence after the rain, a reminder of hope in new chapters. As we finish tonight's journey, imagine dawn breaking over our Minecraft world. The rain has stopped, a few cows moo in distance, and the horizon is full of pink. Our virtual adventure has been peaceful and reflective, just like these stories. Remember that building, whether in a game or in life, can be very calming and helpful. And listening to soft stories, perhaps with a warm blanket, really can help you relax and improve your mood. Now, take one last deep breath, maybe sip that cocoa or coffee. It's time to drift to sleep with friendly villages wishing you good night. Sleep well and see sweet dreams from the pixelated world to your real one. Stay tuned for more stories to help you relax and fall asleep with sleepy scandals. Make sure you subscribe, like, refer your friends' friends, everyone else you know, your family, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, your side pieces, ooh, the ones you're not supposed to meet up with. Tell everyone, your cats, your dogs, your pets, okay, that they should subscribe to Sleepy Time Scandals, okay? If they have a hard time sleeping, but they are more than willing to sleep to some scandals. Stay tuned for the next segment.